Does your family look like this? Have you started to realize that technology is taking over our relationships? That we no longer talk to each other, but we SMS or we challenge each other at games? My 13-year-old's way of interacting with his friends now, instead of doing some hoops with the basketball, is now to play revolting games on a PS3, and they talk to each other through headsets. My 3-year-old's favourite pastime is Sonic Jump on an iPad or a PendoPad, whichever he can get his hands on, because he's the only one without a device. And seriously, I think the adults in the family, including myself, aren't much better. We've reached this era where technology has taken over and it's not going away. So we need a solution that's going to help us build relationships with connection, despite the fact that we have all this multimedia and gadgets and devices around us, and somehow teach our children how to have human connections when to them it's quite normal not to. So this summer we really experienced a problem. It was really hot. There's only one room in the house that has good air conditioning, so everyone's in it and everyone's on their devices, and my 3-year-old doesn't have one. So he has lots of tantrums and lots of carrying on because he wants to be playing too, or he wants to be doing something too. Which is understandable, really. That's what everyone else is doing. That's what his role models are doing. So after many screams and everything, someone will hand over their device and he will play his Sonic Jump, and he's expert at it, and I'm not proud of that. So I decided I had to do something about it. We tried turning off the internet, but of course not everything is related to the internet. And I thought about, well, do we take the devices away at certain times? And I realized that none of these options actually help our children learn to deal with this environment that they're growing up in. At some point in time, they're going to have to know how to turn things off themselves. We have a whole problem with adults being addicted to video games and that sort of thing. So I thought I would start with my 3-year-old, since he was the biggest problem. He was the one that was screaming for devices and raiding his siblings' bedrooms to see what he could get, raiding our bedroom to see what he could get to play on. So I started one morning. He wanted the iPad, and I remembered, he's been connected to a device, which means he's been disconnected from us. And if he is feeling disconnected, then we'll have off-track behavior. So everything that's about to happen is off-track behavior. It's not him really wanting that device. What he really wants deep down is connection, but he can't really express that. So we started off with, no, we're not going to have the iPad today, in a very nice way, probably more natural than that when I did it for real. And then the crying and screaming started. So I listened. It was a bit of a tantrum, really. And it was also the morning we had to get ready for childcare, and the time was moving along, so I had to get on with that. So I said to him, look, time for us to get ready, time to go to childcare now. And that's when the tears really started. Oh, I don't want to go to childcare. I'm going to miss you. And tears were pouring. So I listened with him. Let him release this emotional attention that's getting in the way of him feeling connected with us. So that went for a little while, but he distracted himself. He's getting a bit older now, and he distracts himself quite easily. And I knew that in order to get this emotional tension out, we needed to go a little bit longer. In the past, he would cry for 45 minutes to release, the tension that he had stored inside him. So a couple of minutes wasn't enough. So I had to keep moving him to that spot where it would bring the emotional tension up, to just release it. So I would remind him, we've got to get ready now. Time to put your shirt on, or we need to put your socks on now. We need to put your pants on now. And every time I would suggest the next thing, we would have more tears. I would stop and I would listen. Every time he would stop, I would move us to the next step towards getting ready. So maybe to the next step was the lounge room, and then to the door. So all the time going back to that place where the tears would come and he would release that emotional tension. All the time connecting with him, speaking to him in a beautiful tone of voice, and not losing patience with him at all. understanding that none of this was about childcare and not wanting to go there. None of this was about the iPad. It was all about him being disconnected and needing to reconnect. So he stopped crying at this point. I didn't feel we had finished, but he had finished for now, and he held my hand, and we quite happily went off to childcare. Now that night I was coming home about an hour and a half after everyone else, so I was quite interested to hear what happened when they came home, and it turns out he didn't ask for any device at all. He was quite happy to just play. So it had worked. The connection had worked. Later on that evening I got out my iPad to check emails, and it started again. And this was the part where I thought, he hadn't finished. It was right, he still had some more to go. So I stayed, listened to him as he found it very difficult when I said no. And just think about it. We don't like it when people say no to us too. So why can't we understand that children have to work through that emotional struggle of being told no? So I listened to him. We got to a point where it actually seemed like the right moment to turn into play listening. So we had a play listen. He laughed. We had a nice time. He went to bed really happily that night. And we'd got through actually an entire day without him using any type of device at all. The next day, I needed to do some things in the morning while everyone else was still asleep, and I didn't want him to wake everyone up. So I thought I'll just see how things go. I gave him the iPad and let him play Sonic Jump for a little while. Got my things done, came back, and I said to him, we need to stop now. We need to put the iPad down now. Not in that tone of voice. It was actually a much softer tone of voice. And he said, oh yeah, in a minute. Nothing like, no, I don't want to, no screaming, no tantrums like the past. He finished that game, he turned it off, and he handed it to me with a big smile and said, here, Omi. Omi's what he calls me. So you see, connecting is what is going to help us get our children to help manage their own use of devices. We need to connect with our children, and our children will not need those devices to the extent that they're using them now. Connection is the essence of it. And if you want to know how to do this, the Building Emotional Understanding course is an amazing way of learning 4 parenting by connection listening tools for adults to children. That's stay listening, which I've mentioned, which is where you stay and listen to them through the difficulty. Setting limits, which is where it's the respectful way of just saying no, and then you stay listen with them. Play listening I mentioned, which is a playful approach to listening. And there's also special time, which I haven't mentioned today. We also have another couple of tools which are really critical to be able to do this. If I hadn't have had listening time myself and felt connected myself, I wouldn't have had the patience to be able to listen to my son the way I did. So we have 2 adult to adult listening tools as well, which we use so that we can get ourselves on track and be in a very connected place ourselves, so we can connect well with our children and listen well to our children. I highly recommend this course. I wouldn't have invested the last year becoming an instructor if I didn't think that this was the answer to our parenting dilemmas. There is a way you can use parenting by connection tools in pretty much every parenting dilemma that you find yourself in. So please join us, and I really, really look forward to working with you.